Geographers, let's get straight into syllabus point 3. We are going to look at Addis Ababa in detail today as a case study of a city experiencing rapid urbanization and infrastructure growth over time. Let's look at the transport, sanitation, water, waste disposal, and telecommunication development. Before that, let's look at this model of urban system growth. The inputs that go into a city, the processes that then lead to outputs. That's essentially what this model is showing. Okay, so the physical inputs such as water, land, solar energy, and then there's also human inputs such as food, resources such as knowledge, raw materials, human generated energy such as electricity, fuel, and investment, and also people moving into the city for work. We've talked about industries. In cities, primarily, we see secondary, tertiary, and quaternary industries. In industrializing cities, we see secondary industries. So we mean the manufacturing industry. In Addis Ababa, light manufacturing, such as textiles and leather, garments, footwear, those are quite big, but also heavy industries such as cement, steel, plastic goods, food processing, and there's also lots of industrial parks there, such as the Bolelemi Industrial Park, which supports exports. There's both a strong formal retail sector, but also an informal sector from those that have migrated from agricultural areas and have found it difficult to find a job. Major markets, including the Mercato, one of Africa's largest shopping malls, markets and supermarkets. There's also, it's a major source of employment in Addis Ababa. Another secondary industry that's booming is the construction and real estate. And this is due to the rapid urbanization and infrastructure development. So it includes residential, commercial, and public infrastructure projects, government-led housing programs, and private real estate investment are the major drivers for the population boom. And one of the biggest secondary industries in Addis Ababa. When we talk about grey infrastructure, we essentially mean the infrastructure that shapes the urban morphology, so the layout of the city. And that includes homes, factories, shops, offices, roads, water and sanitation systems, optic fiber lines for internet access. The green infrastructure refers to structures that interact or involve nature to bring environmental benefits to the population. Barriers to prevent noise pollution is an example. Rooftop gardens, biophilic design, basically a fancy word for lots of indoor plants in shopping centres and that sort of thing. Parks and green corridors. So we see both in Addis Ababa, but a lot of great infrastructure development. That's their main priority. And most recently, we are seeing more green corridors that are a focus. But then there's also urban processes, which we looked at last lesson. So that includes definitely urban growth in Addis Ababa. We are seeing industrialization, intensification, and lots of urban planning that's taking place. Some of the urban stresses that we will look at in the next topic includes, the urban heat island effect, air pollution, water pollution, waste. That's a big issue in Addis Ababa. And the products and services are another output from the employment and workers. And you may potentially also see out migrants. Okay, so a bit of geographic context. Addis Ababa has a population of 5.4 million in 2023. In 2025, it's considered to be 5.9 million. So there's a 4.46% increase on average each year. Ethiopia is one of 2 countries in Africa that's believed to never have technically been colonized by Europe, although it was annexed by Italy in 1936 and 1941. However, there is no colonial infrastructure or architecture like there is in other African nations. And so a lot of the infrastructure development we see now is actually a lot of heavily influenced by China due to its extensive foreign investment into Addis Ababa and in Ethiopia in general. Here we can see the rapid exponential increase in the population from, let's say, mid 2000 to present day. Between 2000 and 2010, there was almost a 1 million population growth. And then between 2010 to 2016, so within 6 years' time, there was another 4 million. And then within 5 years' time, so up to 2021, the population reached 5 million. And this year it's on track to reach 6 million. So the number of years that it takes to reach the next million is decreasing, which is highlighting the rapid urbanization of the city and the urban growth that's taking place. I just want to quickly show this map. So we can see here, aspects of the Burgess's concentric zone model as well as Hoyt's model to an extent. I mean, it doesn't show land use here, but we can see some patterns. So what this really shows is urban sprawl. The urban footprint in 1990, the dark blue shows the extent of the urban area, and then it's spread or expanded in its geographic extent between 1990 to 2000 to these light blue areas, and between 2010 to 2020 we can see that it's expanded even further into these pink regions. So there's definitely been urban sprawl. However, there are protected areas, farmland that needs to be protected due to the potential forced displacement without adequate compensation that could take place if the urbanization was to continue further spreading outward. And so as a result, we're going to look at a lot of the high-rise buildings, the vertical development of Addis Ababa in our next video. So another two interesting maps that we see is that the wealthier people, which are the green dots, prefer to reside not right in the city center, but further south, still highly connected in terms of the transportation networks, whereas middle and really low income are living in these high density regions in the urban center, as well as in the peripheries. So it's important to take note of that, because we're going to be looking at the sanitation services and the network, telecommunications and roads and infrastructure development, how that is unevenly distributed in terms of its quality and access across Addis Ababa as well. Next lesson, we're going to look at all 5 of these. I'm going to stop this video here.